Alright, welcome to Eve Singularity, a Major Freak. So, solo Paladin against a FOB. The main question is it going to be like a Nestor level of spawnage for rats, right? If it's going to be just really unreasonable. Yeah, Nestor's at a FOB is like, you know, aggroing on the chicken in Skyrim. It's just, whoops. So, the best ones are Trigs because they spawn the least. It's based, I think the spawnage is based on the hull estimated CCP's estimation of the hull's DPS. And they're kind of dumb. They use the lowest initial DPS rating of a Trig platform. So, pretty dumb, but it helps us until they fix it or assume that, oh, it was. See, what they do is like, it's a feature until they change it, and then it's, oh, it's a defect, and we just it's not what we intended for Eve. Yeah, they know their intention in Eve, but don't get me started on that. All right, so we've got let me bring this up. Oh god, I'm using Photon UI on my Singularity. It's just to remind myself how awful it is. So we've got 4 Megapulse 2 with optimal range gives Conflag at 31. The omens tend to orbit at 35, so that's good enough. I don't need any more. If I turned it off, right, it would be only 27, and you could probably use another like 536, right, in order to get to. I keep forgetting the ranges. To get, say, 35, and we've got 536. So, what is it? I don't know. 41. Yeah, I don't know my crystals. It's so funny. Microwave. I think it's gamma. I'm gonna guess gamma. It would be nice if the color of the crystal, like red to purple, would be the ranges it would be at. But, yeah. CCP, go figure, right? Okay, 34. So gamma only gives you 3. Well, let's go Imperial gamma. Imperial, maybe gamma. It's going to be 383 versus 383 versus Conflag. 383 versus, yeah, see? So yeah, you're better off with this. I'm sure you'll be able to hit at that range with them going at, what is it, 700 meters per second. Pretty sure you'll be able to hit them. Yeah, and you'll probably do more than 380 DPS. So that's a respectable DPS. My Lashaks do about, I forget, quite a bit when they ramp up. I think 1,500 per, I forget. Don't quote me. But yeah, this is definitely pretty good against omens without augur support. So, Bastion, of course. 2. Hey, yeah, you don't really need those. Let's see now. What could you do instead? Not much, really. What you could do. Is just leave them empty. And we'll unfit this.
ammo. And then, see if we can do this here. Bastion. Another one. That one. All right, 2. Put them there. Put these there. And then we leave these 2 empty. It helps with overheating. So we spread these out as much as possible and leave these 2 empty. And having something in there there's no benefit having something in there offline, because it won't, let me put this, it won't help soak up heat. It'll just get damaged randomly. It's an RNG thing. So it's not let's put something in there to soak up the heat. No, it's empty is just as good. The chances for something to overheat and get heat damage is just simply based on how many slots there are, what's the distance from the overheating module, chance, ... profit. And there's no advantage at all to spreading heat, because it's just simply a fixed calculation based on number of slots and the distance from, and that's it. So yeah, that's a good one. Now, Thermal 2, we'll put Tech 2 everything, right? So we'll put Tech 2 everything and show you what we can do here. So, all right, let's put Conflag in. Okay, so we've got 2143. If we had in the Imperial Navy heat sinks, that would be cool. They're a bit pricey, but you know, you're fielding an incredible thing here. So yeah, let's turn this off. This will just be for repping anything close by that you're using to deal with the augers more effectively. I'm sure if you had the thought behind it is get in Destroyer or lower to avoid spawning more augers, because the augers are going to be the most pain. They're really painful. The arbitrators are going to lower your optimal range, so you won't be able to, with arbitrators on field, diamond arbitrators on field, they'll most likely, this draws huge amounts of aggro from everything, so your other ships should be relatively safe. There'll be a random career that'll probably sometimes go after your Thrasher, but for the most part, everything's going to be on this. All right, so that's for repping. And once you've got it on, it's only for 4. So going with more than one doesn't seem very smart. You're not going to have much buffer, but you will have resist, and this is perfect resist. Now, what if we went with... and EM's going to be the most, followed by that, closely by thermal, but mostly EM damage. You'll have that, and when you have it like this, it's going to be 50-50. It's going to be 30% into EM, 30% into thermal, and it's useful. You get 30% plus 30%. You can't argue with that compared to other things, right? You might be I don't think you'd be able to get more using multi-spec ENM, but we'll try it just to show you. So the resistance are 9281, so we'll write that down. Tech 2 reactive plus no damage control. All right, is 9281, right? So what if we replace it with damage control? What would happen? Unfit. And damage controls don't have stacking penalties with other resist modules, right? It avoids that. So you're getting a non no stacking penalty resist mod, which is pretty cool. So you get 92, 81, right? So you've got the same, but got to remember that reactive wasn't adding to that. It was like spreading 15% over all. So it's better to have a reactive, right? So remove that. Now, what if we had a ENM blah, 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 Tech 2, right? Put that in. So you got 92, 82. So Tech 2, yeah, whatever. I know it's called different now, but yeah, ENM, but whatever. I don't care. I'll use the old acronym. And that is 92, 82. All right. Still not as good as the reactive once it spools up, right? So we're going to go with the reactive because it's a smart call, right? Oops. So, and the thing is, if you want to use it on a smaller ship, remember it's using the same amount of activation costs, so better on a larger ship because it kind of adds up the activation cost. Okay, so especially because the skill speeds it up, right? Speeds up this, lowers the cycle time. Right, so got that. Now let's try Metanaved, Dead Space actually. I use B-type. And unfortunately, the B-type thermal is super expensive right now. So, give me a sec here. Yeah. There we go. All right, so Corpse B-type, Centus, thermal. So it's like kind of stupid priced out right now, which is unfortunate. But you probably be able to, because it's weird. Check this out. It's so stupid. The B-types, right? Compare. So the core, the corpus, and the centi are all going to be the same. There we go. So estimate per, no, we go by, and same activation costs, same CPU, everything, right? And thermal. So it's pretty much in the sweet spot between everything not too expensive, you know. So 53, 52, everything 2020. See? So same activation cost, everything. Everything's the same. And it's funny because the prices vary so much because 1 month the meta doctrine will call for the corpus, and the next time it'll call for the core, and the next time it'll call for the centus, depending on what's the cheapest. And some people might be just stupid and just keep demanding that people fit this because it's the cheapest, and it's not true. It just varies widely. So we've got 29, 38, 29. So you're pretty much stuck with a 30 million ISK Hardener. So let's go with, we'll go with the Centus because might as well for both of them. Whoops. Pair. Come on. Whatever. Whoa. Lag. I don't like that. Okay, so, and we're looking at, okay, let's try that. That's 26 million, and that's core. Okay, well, let's go with the cores. Let's go with the core B-type for both. All right, so core B-type for both. So we've got 2 EM. Do it this way. B-type, B-type. No, we're going with core, right? We're going with core B-type. Core. Come on, where is it there? Core B-type EM2. And core B-type thermal. There we go. Okay, so now our percentage is a bit pricey, but 93. Core Centus Corpus. Reactive. No damage control. I'm just so used to having a damage control on. Is 93. 82. Right? Okay, so that's as you can see, it's 1% better. And you're just thinking, why would I spend all that on 1% for each, right? It doesn't make sense. Look at it this way. The rats were doing 8% EM and 19%. 19% thermal, right? And now they're doing 7% EM and 18% thermal. And think of that as you've just reduced them by a lot for the EM. If you think about it, it's like 10% better it's not 1%, it's 10% better because they've gone from 8% damage on you to 7%. So that when you got a lot of omens on you, every little bit counts. And if you reduce them by that much, that's quite a bit, right? My guys roll with quite a bit of, this is what I roll with. And my total incoming repping is usually about 200 hit points per second, and your Bastion is giving you 373. So you can easily tank 10 omens approximately with that sort of resist profile, maybe even 12. You'll never spawn that many for just one Paladin, so you could easily tank this. The issue is Capacitor. So, of course, use a pod, fly in ahead of time, drain it for 10 minutes. It'll start targeting you with a yellow bracket. That means it's drained. Immediately warp in your Paladin, get set up, and warp off your pod because the rats won't get spawned by a pod, but they will aggro on a pod. So, warp off your pod, get it into a frigate, not a corvette, a frigate, and not a cloaky, and not a corvette. So you can't have a corvette, you can't have a pod, and you can't have a cloaked vessel on grid because it won't give you the ISK reward. So you need it in a frigate, at least, right? And I'd recommend you need a Thrasher to take out the crewers easily, and you need a DST or a freighter to pick up the loot. And then Griffins for your alts on grid. If you were hanging out at a bookmark created by the pod, when your pod warps in, if the initial pod warps in, you dock up and get into a pod from one of your frigates or your Thrasher even, and you warp in. And at about, if you've got a good latency on your computer and your computer's decent, I wait till about, just as I think I'm passing below 10k kilometers or 10k meters, I'll hit bookmark, and I've got, as I press warp for the FOB and I'm warping in, I open up Control B, and then I type in FOB 1, 3 hours max, because it's once you blow it up, the wreck's going to last 2 hours, right? So 3 hours, whatever. So you get a temporary bookmark, and you hit that at just as it passes 10k, and your bookmark should be set between, 2,000 and 8,000 kilometers, which is good enough because you need it beyond 1,500. Once you've got that bookmark, you warp back to it, make sure it's past 1,500, because rats will aggro on anything below 1500. They'll spawn if you pass below 365, if you're anything but a pod. So get that bookmark, warp everything to it, including the Paladin, warp that pod back to the FOB, drain it for 10 minutes, and then once you get a yellow bracket, you warp off that pod to wherever you docked up your destroyer, frigate, or whatever. Get back in the ship, undock, and warp to the safe spot with the other people at the staging area. You've got to warp in your main DPS at that point, otherwise draining the FOB is going to be useless, right? So get that guy in immediately. Hopefully it'll only be battleships that spawn, but sometimes you'll get omens. It's kind of half and half. And omens are your biggest worry, because they dish out, for every 2 apocs, 3 omens are going to dish out the same DPS. And typically you spawn way more omens than you spawn apocs, right? So that's your main worry. If you've got full omen spread, that's a huge concern, because you're going to be taking a lot of DPS. But like I said, you probably need 12 omens to actually start sweating for your Paladin. So the FOB's drained. It can't drain you. Ashimus are a problem. They will drain you. And the biggest issue is if you get that rare, when the hauler warps in and spawns, usually frigates, but sometimes omens and sometimes worse. Balgorns are the worst. So if you get that rare spawn of Balgorns close in, and it's the hauler that spawned it, they won't go to snipe range. They'll be sitting in your face, draining you. And Balgorns and Ashimus, say if you triggered 3 Ashimus, and you're like, okay, I can deal with this. I've drained the FOB, no worries. And then you get the rare Balgorn, yeah, you're hosed. And as you can see, it's cap stable, but I say if you got 3 Ashimus, that's going to be an issue. So you need to kill the Ashimus quick. Yeah. But it's okay. It's dealable. The issue will be augurs. And if augurs spawn as well, hopefully just one. So kill the augur first. It's vulnerable to thermal. Most things on the battlefield are going to be vulnerable to thermal. The crews are going to be vulnerable to explosive and kinetic. That's why I've got a mix of these drones in here. Actually, the augurs are vulnerable to EM most. It's the omens that are vulnerable to thermal more. And the apocs, but don't worry about those. They don't even have bounties on them for the defense fleet. Okay, so augurs on the field. They're ticking you off. You need to deal with 3 Ashimus on field, or else you're going to cap out. What you do is you either, the augurs usually orbiting around 60, 70, so switch to a decent damage thing, damage crystal, and take it out. Probably go for standard to survive the Ashimus at first, and drill its face in. Got a good range of, let's see, will you need, yeah, that's good enough. So you'll get half your DPS, but at least you'll hit it. And yeah, it's pretty decent. If there's more than one augur, that's why we're using, see, if you say, oh, no problem, I'll warp in a Blackbird. But the problem is if you warp in a cruiser, there's a possibility, very good possibility, that another augur will spawn because of that. So warp in Griffins, and you won't spawn that kind of reinforcement wave. So you've got a Thrasher to help out taking out the Krurs on field, and that's a destroyer. It'll probably spawn a couple of Krurs and maybe an extra omen, rarely anything else. And if you've got more than one augur, your other alts on field at the staging area will be in Griffins. You'll need a DST or a freighter, like I said, for hauling the loot. You'll need one of your alts for distracting the response fleet, which is the hauler trigger, hauler spawn. I call it the response fleet. I call the FOB's main spawnage the defense fleet. So there's two fleets. The first fleet will always, all of them will starburst. The response fleet is sketchy. It's really sketchy. Mostly they'll slow burn. They won't starburst. Starburst is when they warp out to 400 and then back on your ass, which is scary. But yeah, as long as you've got your people in position and doing the right things, this should be a cakewalk. So you'll get one alt in a fast frigate with an MWD, and it warps around, finds the miners, spooks them, and as soon as you land in that field with the miners, immediately double click in a freaking, well, just click on one of the asteroids and have your default, you can right click the orbit at, I believe you can orbit, yeah, you totally can, right click the well, I think it's only 100 kilometers. All right, anyways, so you double click away from the belt as soon as you can, and you'll MWD the hell out of there. And once you get to around 500 kilometers, you just right click one of the asteroids and say orbit at current, and then you'll keep the response fleet busy. And so they'll never come bug you at the FOB, which is great because you don't want to yeah, you don't want the Balgorns on you. That's bad. Mostly it's frigates, but yeah, why risk your ship, right? Always remember just before the FOB dies to warp your frigate to grid out the staging area to get the 30 million ISK per pilot on grid. So yeah, that would be about it. Yeah, if you can splurge for that, definitely go for it. I mean, you got a Paladin, so you better. So yeah, do the core or just check the prices, right? Centus, Corpus, or Core. B-type, always B-type. And that'll give you that extra oomph. This for overheat, I would not recommend overheating. But it's just, why not? You really don't need anything, and nothing's going to be useful for you. These for sure, you won't need it. Oh, you'll need a prop mod. You will absolutely need a prop mod. This is your get out of jail free module. It's you cannot leave home without it. So whoops. Hello, get in there. All right. So that'll get you away. So yeah, that's good. Go conflag, and then you'll definitely want to invest in the Republic fleet. Absolutely, because you know the faster you kill it, the you can move on to other things, right? So what was I using? Oh, whatever, doesn't really matter, does it? Heatsink. Pretty sure it would be the cheapest, but you never know, right? Heatsink. Let's get rid of that. Compare. Damage modifier, that's all you need to look at. So heatsink 2, Imperial, true. Oh, the same. Okay, sure. So cheapest, basically. So, ooh, expensive. Expensive. Very expensive. God damn. That's funny. Cheapest one. All right, so yeah. Probably, yeah, I guess the Imperial is the cheapest. I mean, probably go to Perimeter and snap yourself up cheaper, but yeah, that's acceptable. It's real expensive, but you got to think 2235, right? Ooh. Ouch. Yeah, see? Well, it's going to take you more than 50 minutes to kill it. So let's not dick around, right? We could probably, well, wait a minute. No, that's not going to work. Well, we don't really need this, honestly. We can just get other crystals for it. So yeah, we can be stable with that. And this will, each small, medium, and large will have the same capacitor nuding resistant bonus for batteries. They're great against Ashimus and stuff. So this will save your ass when you have to deal with Balgorns and Ashimus. If there's Balgorns on the field, yeah, you're going to have problems, but this will help. So we'll go with this. We don't really need to get fancy. So let's get rid of the optimal. And now we're stable. And we're up to 2235. Was that any different? Give me a second. What the hell? What's that? I don't think that's any different. Give me a sec. Maybe we're just saving CPU. No, we're not. We're getting more. So yeah, apparently a lot more. So yeah, I definitely recommend. And my short-term memory, shit, always has been. So that's pretty decent, right? And do we have Conflag? Yeah, okay. So that's the best you're gonna get without, you know, horribly ganking your setup. So we've got 134. We've got tons to spare. We do not need this, honestly. Let's compare. Let's see if we're actually making any difference in capacitor drain, right? So activation cost. Mostly the activation time is usually the same, but you have to be careful. 15, 15, 15, just 16 for the Tech 2. No, the Protest. Okay, they're pretty much all the same, so we can ignore that. Oh, ignore that. Hit points. Okay, so 450 activation cost. So let's go activation cost. Let's not dick around. So Trisancha has 450, everything up till here. So what are we looking at? So Tech 2 is 400. Well, yes, please. So Tech 2. All right, so 12. So we can laugh at one or two Ashimus. Don't take them for granted. They're pretty strong. But I think we're fine. Let's see defense. Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure. Federation, same. You don't need to go for the Republic. How much would a Republic fleet large repair? Public fleet large. Like, if you could laugh at Ashimus, that's going to make your life a hell of a lot easier, right? Yeah, no. So, yeah, let's say no to that. Domination, maybe? Let's try Domination. Some things aren't sold. Like, they have it coded in-game, but it just doesn't appear in the loot tables. Oops. It's so funny. It really is. It's from release. It's like, really, guys? Yeah, it's pretty funny. Yeah, there's so much that is just beta level. It's really, once you start looking under the hood, yeah. Okay, 16 million. That's acceptable. Let's play it around. I mean, you literally don't need more. Like, if there's more than 200 DPS coming in on you with this resist profile, you've got issues. Like, somebody's warped in with a whole bunch of ships, and there's a whole shitload of stuff spawned. And since you're the Marauder, you're going to take the majority of the DPS. So you need to GTFO if that happens. So, yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is overkill. So, we are going for Domination, and that'll save you more. So you got 16. Yeah, you'll be able to laugh at Ashamus, especially with 3. So yeah, haha, Ashamus. So no worries, but it would be smart to get rid of them. But this will give you a nice cushion. It's looking good. You've got, oh yeah, easy. Yeah, you'll be able to tank anything that comes in at you. Unless somebody decides to help you with nesters, and then you're gonna effed. Alright, so that's your ship. What is this? Are these control? Oh, okay. So yeah, you definitely need them. Would it be better if you had semiconductor? Probably not, but let's not ignore them. Let's not discount them right away. So semiconductor. So we've got 16.1. Let's put 1 in. Okay, so probably definitely not, even if we put 2 in, right? Yes or no. So CCCs for the win. And there you go. That is your fit. Yeah, and the Thrasher, you just need Titanium Sabot and Nova Rockets, and you're good. It doesn't matter. Just put a whole bunch of, because you don't have any webs here, just put 3 webs in. Yeah, you're good. 3 webs, rocket, autocannons, I think. Anything that get your Titanium Sabot to 10 kilometers optimal, hopefully 9 kilometers optimal. And alpha accounts can do it. You know, if you've got a backup computer, another quote unquote EULA speaking entity, that'll do the job just fine. Oh yeah, I do it all the time. It's great. I felt cheating at first when I started using my alpha alts as anything but scouters, like scouts. But it doesn't unreasonably increase my ISK by using such another entity like that for the alpha. It's not EULA breaking because I'm not unreasonably taking advantage of the game mechanics to gain ISK at an unreasonable pace compared to normal gameplay. And that's total quoting the EULA, 100%. Yeah, I mean, you'd think if I was using a Evo preview, I'd be breaking the EULA, but they've explicitly stated over and over that Evo preview is just fine. It's not, you're not unreasonably, you're not doing something that, say somebody, if I cascaded my windows, I could do the same amount in the same speed, that it would just be at a lower res. I'd have to lower the resolution in order to cascade my windows. But this way, using Evo preview, I can have maximum resolution, which is great. All right. So yeah, 1 Thrasher, 1 Hauler, 1 MWD distraction guy, and the rest in Griffins. So there you go. And sorry, I've got Asclepian. This is highly recommended. Huge. And Newman family heirloom, 100%. You just totally go for that. Capacitor management, EM 805, save your ass. Repair proficiency. Oh yeah, it'll cost you a pretty penny. But yeah, highly freaking recommended as a major investment. So yeah, that's the only reason you're getting this insane defense multiplier. Otherwise, it'd be much lower. Yeah. Yeah, you're probably like, how can he get those numbers? That's how. God, stupid Photon UI. Drives me up the wall. How, what a ridiculously stupid idea of CCP. And their compact mode, which I got excited about at the FanFest because they lumped it together with that tricky little multiple overviews kind of talk that looked really cool, and you could maneuver things around the UI window. That was really cool, but they said compact mode right before they introduced that. And that was a sneaky bastard move because the only thing compact mode does is remove the header. Like, if I go compact mode, that disappears. Period. That's your compact mode. Congratulations, Eve. We just won Eve. I know. Idiots. So 27 kilometers range, no problem. You can switch to gamma if you want, but you notice your DPS would fall. And if you wanted to hit the augers, it would be standard. So we're all good. That's about it. Oh, and Griffins, radar ECM. Yeah, just Tech 2 radar ECM and the Griffins. They don't need to be flying about. Just lump it in there, warp it in. You'll probably spawn a crew or two, probably just a crew, and light up that freaking auger. If there's more than one auger, light one up and jam the hell out of it, and you'll be able to kill the other one. If there's two augers, the bonus for having more augers on field means less DPS on field, right? So it's a zero-sum game for the rats, the diamond rats. So yeah, Ashimus will do the same DPS as Omens. So yeah, if you got say 2 Ashimus, 2 augers, and guessing 2 Omens, 2 to 3 Omens, and a couple of Curs, you're golden. Just jam the hell out of the. But the thing is, it's like you don't really need to do anything. If you're smart about it, you won't need to. You just have everybody at the staging area. Well, except for the distractor. You don't want to roll the RNGesus on that, distracting the response fleet at the asteroid belt, right? So other than that, you can have everybody else at. Don't forget your pod back into the ship and back to the staging area, and have everybody there. And at the end of the day, just warp your distractor frigate back to the staging area, and so everybody gets the 30 million each, approximately. And if you've got 8 alts, I clear $250 million every FOB, and that's not including the loot you get. And you can clear, after you do about a day's worth, you can probably get $500 million. You know, if you say take out, say 6 FOBs, maybe 4 to 6 FOBs. Oh, I'd say 6 FOB. You'd probably get $500 million in loot. That's not counting the idiotically huge blueprint. It's for the faction newt, the blood, dark blood faction newt for upwells. It's like freighter sized, and you unpack it in the freighter, and you get this like a blueprint out of it. So it's like lol. Anyways, so yeah, I mean, that's all you really need to do. Just get everybody at the staging area, because you warp in your Paladin. It's the FOB's drained of Capacitor. You'll get augers on field, right? Multiple augers, but you can get away from the field using your MJD. You know, just align first to a Celestial. After you blow up the FOB, everybody gets a reward. You align to a Stargate, and you're going to make sure you finished aligning. Hit the MJD, spools up, jumps, and you can warp everybody off. But remember that you've got to be careful. You always remember this, because I forget all the time. But once you finish your MWD jump, you're still going to have the warp disruptor effect. So when you warp everybody off, remember that your Paladin is probably still jammed, even though it's 100 kilometers from the frigates. You just got to wait till that icon disappears, and then you can warp. So everybody else off the field, you've tanked everything, you didn't kill anything on field, but you got 30. You got a half, like a quarter of a billion. You don't need to kill anything on the field. The only reason I kill things on the field is just in case some jackass warps his ship in, or his bunch of ships. You know, because he's effectively trying to steal the FOB from you. It'll happen. So, you know, turn off your Bastion once you see him appearing on grid, just in case you get a really nasty spawn, because your Marauder will draw all the aggro, and he's going to be sitting there pretty as you just get murdered. So turn off the Bastion. Hopefully by that time it turns off. Like, how quick does it cycle? What, a minute? Like a weapons timer or something? What is it? Activation time 30 seconds. That's stupid. That's cool. Okay, so turn off your Bastion. So you need to see somebody warping in on you. And if it looks like no problemo, you should be fine. I'm not sure if Bastion mode attracts the aggro. I bet you it does. So if you turn your Bastion mode off, they might get the aggro too. But as soon as you turn them, yeah, it's see what spawns. If you can think you can tank it, if it's like 12 or less omens and Ashemoves combined, you'd probably be able to tank it and finish the FOB off. And if you've got half damage done to it, there's no way they're going to be able to get the IS reward. And in fact, if you've done more than half damage to it, you could turn off your Bastion, warp directly to your staging spot, and wait till they blow it up, and you get the reward because you did more damage to it, right? So lol on them. Yeah, totally right. So yeah, just turn your Bastion off, and then warp away. And that's why I like to kill the frigates, because you've got the ability to avoid using your MGD, because the MGD is it's good to use, but it's a last resort kind of thing, and it's good to clear the stuff off the field, like the crewers, because that's the most dangerous for you, because warp disruption, it's not nice. It won't disable your MGD, but it's what happens if they spawn a shit ton and you start panicking. So I'd rather you have a buffer that you're not pointed, and you could just turn off your Bastion and just warp directly to your staging spot without worrying about having to use the MJD, because sometimes you kind of panic, and yeah, if you get pointed again and the omens came on you, and yeah, it just could be just whole buckets of problems. So that's why I like taking care of the curves, because it's just a smart thing. It's just a smart play. So yeah, I think that's about it. That's the smartest way to do it. That's how I do it, from what I know now, right? Yeah, and don't bother. You could have, if there's no more, like what I do with all those alts is have a spider pattern of routes from my staging area out, spreading out as far as I want to go, like say 6 jumps, say, and just use dot land and figure out how, like even use the agency's agent, like level 2, level 3 agents, to find out where 6 jumps away is that, and you go in that direction, and all your alts are going to figure out a spider pattern of non-overlapping routes to get that far out. And depending on how many alts you got, you can do that and find out all the FOBs in your immediate area, and that's your little waypoint system. Anything beyond 12, I wouldn't hit optimize because then your computer freezes. But I can usually reliably do 12 or less waypoints. Yeah, and that, 12 FOBs, don't get greedy. Yeah, that's about it. Can't think of anything else. Yeah, I wouldn't overheat. Honestly, you probably really don't need to overheat. It is kind of pointless. Your heat damage is 0.68. So every time the RNG tells the system that you're going to take damage, you're going to take 0.68, and you've got 40 hit points per module, except a couple. That's rare. I mean, CCP is just ridiculously stupid when it comes to that. So with thermodynamics, you lowered it down to that heat. I might have screwed up there. 40 divided by 0.68 equals. So you could take 58 damage rolls. And the increase, you know, the little meter that says the heat is increasing, that's not increasing your damage. That's just percentage chance you're going to get damage. So you could take 58 hits, and these cycle at, rate of fire every 2 seconds. So say on the average, if you turned on your modules for overheat and you just did it, and let's hypothetically say every cycle, every single one of your modules would take damage, which is pretty rare. And these empty modules lower the chance a little bit. A little bit helps, right? So let's say, hypothetically, the minimum time you could overheat something is about 25 seconds. Minimum. So say you could probably get about, I'd say about a minute of overheat, but it'll take you, you know, you're not getting a lot of DPS, right? And you're not going to be using your drones on it. So yeah, I wouldn't bother, honestly. Oops, is that Conflag? Okay, it's Conflag. Yeah. It's because I didn't have my drones. Got it. So that's your laser on the DPS. I mean, your laser on the FOB. With your little drones could add a little bit more. Not really. But yeah, there you go. I think I'm exhausted that one to death. I don't think there's anything else you could fiddle with. I don't think the Imperial is really going to help you. Oh, the piece. Would the piece help you? It's probably really expensive. Would it even help? 8 minutes versus what? 5 minutes. How much is the piece? Large remote. I'd probably way too expensive. 2 million versus. No, that would get you ganked. So yeah, we're fine. You're absolutely fine. Yeah, there's nothing you could, like, you could probably go for the Thucker if you wanted. You got to remember that the more bling you put on, the more attractive you are. Like, Thucker. Gotta go work soon. I am gonna be late if I yap anymore, so that'll save you. So 50 million versus what, right? 50 million versus public fleet is right. So you're just adding 3 of those. It's 150 million right there, and you don't have much buffer, right? And they could hit you with kinetic and explosive, and you'd be pretty much hosed because you just, you know, you don't have much buffer at all. So yeah, they could cut you through, and you know, if they gank you on the gate, you won't have your hardeners on because, you know, just why would you have your hardeners on, right? Wait, just offline. There we go. You'd have yeah, you'd probably have shit resists, and you just get hosed, and you don't have a damage control. yeah, you'd be hosed. So let's not play around with the blingy bling bling, okay? You could probably get away with Tech 2. Actually, give me a sec. Unload ammo, fit modules, online. There we go. It's all online, everything. Could you get away with Tech 2? Probably. That would lower the bling. I mean, you don't want to be, you don't have any buffer, right? Could you get away with it? Yeah, I guess so. Maybe. Nope. Yeah, you're gonna have to go with that bling, but it's not ridiculous expensive. Like, you know, 25 million each. They're not really want to tangle with you. They've got better targets. So be careful. Okay. Yeah. Anyways, I'll upload that and get the hell out of here.